Welcome back to the Fun Run, where we like to have fun and we like to run. This time we are going to discuss the top 10 worst shoes of 2020. This is a very important list because we like to be more consumer-oriented, whereas other channels like to be more technology-oriented, or just like to show off the shiniest shoes. But we're not like that. We care about you. James, how was 2020 for the worst shoes?
Well, if you listen to our last one where we picked the 2020 top 10 best shoes, oh man, this was a whole lot easier than the last time. Yeah, I mean, 2020 was not a good year for running shoes whatsoever. And I'm excited to dive into this list.
Certainly, I think it took us each about an hour and a half to make the top 10 best shoes list, and
And about 5 minutes for the worst.
that is not hyperbole. So we might as well dig right in. We'll just count from 10 to 1, 10 being, well, the best of the worst, if you like to consider it that way, and 1 being the absolute trash of the running shoe world. Would you like to start, or should I?
Yeah, I'll start us off. I know that you're kind of a fan of this shoe, and I believe you had it in your last top 10. But I had to put down at number 10 the Hempo, the Hyperion Tempo, coming in at 150. And honestly, I hate the looks. It might be a great fitting shoe, but I hate the looks. The packing peanut foam bottom, the boring bland upper. I mean, it's not that sexy of a shoe. Plus, you're you're not getting your money's worth at $150. I mean, I think it's a shoe that you can maybe stretch out to 300, maybe 350 if you're lucky, but if you're going to get something for 150 and it's supposed to make you fast, supposed to make you feel good, it's got to do something, and this shoe is definitely not doing that.
Unfortunately, I must disagree with you on a couple of points there. First of all, I did not have the Hempo in my top 10 list. I compared
Oh,
it
might have been
to
one
the
of favorite.
Saucony Endorphin Shift, I believe, where the Endorphin Shift
Hmm.
definitely came out favorably. I do agree with you, however, that you're probably not getting your money's worth out of the Hempo. Personally, though, I like the looks, I have to admit. I think it's pretty bold. I think I think it's pretty tight look. It fits together, and it definitely looks a lot better than some of the other shoes we have on this list. I think personally it looks better than my number 10, which was the Superior 4.5. This was a very disappointing update. Saucony basically listened to all the feedback they got from the great Superior 4.0 and said, aha, let's not do that. So, the Superior has a very interesting tongue, which many people have dubbed the taco tongue, because the inside sidewall basically folds over the top of your shoe, or over the top of your foot, and underneath the outside sidewall of the shoe. Many people didn't like this. I personally didn't have much of a problem with it, but I definitely think the Superior could have done with a gusseted tongue. Additionally, they took away the ankle lock eyelet, which meant that I could not get a good fit out of this shoe. But then they made some very questionable decisions. First, they decided to completely bulk up the upper, completely unnecessarily, adding weight. They then decided to somehow add weight to the midsole material, which just didn't help the shoe at all. It felt a lot more rigid. It felt a lot looser on the foot, a lot heavier. It it gained about an ounce, I believe. And so, all in all, it's a shoe that I don't I don't want to wear. It makes my foot feel bad, and I'm very disappointed by it.
Yeah, and I think said earlier that it was a Saucony. I think we meant to correct that, saying it's an Ultra,
Oh,
the Ultra
sorry. Yeah,
Superior
Ultra Superior
4.5.
4.5.
Um, but yeah, I totally agree. Going off the last one, super lightweight, super just perfect for any sort of outdoor running. I know that you were kind of hoping for more of a winter type running shoe, running on roads and kind of trail systems like that. But yeah, that 4.5, I don't know what went on with the designer's head on that one, but like you said, they took all the input that they got about it and they did the exact opposite. I don't understand why you would make something that's pretty close to even the Lone Peak. So just a step up and kind of more rugged trail shoes of Ultra. I don't know why you would try to get closer to them when you had a fantastic shoe to begin with.
Yeah, I certainly think that the sort of road trail crossover appeal of the Superior is gone. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people wanted the lugs to be longer, and the lugs are longer now, but it came at such a price, and it's just not an improvement, and frankly, it feels pretty bad.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to be mistaken, I think even the lugs on the side, kind of the decorative pieces on the sides of it, not even on the bottom of the sole there, got a little bit more beefed up and a little bit
Yep,
wider. So I don't know why they were thinking about that.
completely unnecessary.
But coming in at my number nine, I actually had the Caldera, and honestly, it's a pretty tight race between the Brooks Caldera and the Brooks Cascadia. 14, 15. It doesn't matter the model. I think we've seen the exact same shoe come out of Brooks Trail for the last several models. I honestly don't think that they've really improved much. They look the same. They feel the same. They're just bland. I mean, maybe the color options, if you're into that, might appeal to you, but honestly, the Caldera, it's not working for me. I don't think it ever will. I think that they need to make some drastic improvements. Lighten it up, somehow try to make it a little bit more waterproof or even water resistant completely. Something along those lines. It just needs, it can't feel like a rock on the bottom of your foot, and that's what the Caldera is doing.
Honestly, the Caldera and Cascadia look, to me, absolutely abhorrent. They look like the rocks you're trying to run over.
Yeah.
It, I, I agree with you that they're bland and boring, and I'd never want to wear one. But I don't think they're so bad to put on this list. Um, but for the price you're paying for each, they're just not that great.
Yeah, it's a tough one to kind of swallow for the price
Yeah,
tag.
definitely.
And it's not that we're saying that it's too much being at 130. We're just thinking that if you're going to spend 130 on a trail shoe, there's several other options that are better.
Especially considering last week we had the Mad River. I had the Mad River Trail as my number 10 shoe. I think a much better introduction to trail running. The Mad River is, and the price it's $20 less with just about the same amount of cushioning, and it looks, in my opinion, a lot better. Speaking
Yep.
of paying way too much for what you're getting, the Clifton Edge is my number 9. I don't understand why it exists, other than as a platform to support the absolutely overdone extended heel. The cushioning is less dense, it's lighter, but it's a lot more rigid and it feels harder underfoot. So you'd think maybe this shoe is a lighter, faster alternative to the regular Clifton, which is a very soft shoe. But it's not, because they weigh about the same. The upper is exactly the same. And if you wanted to make a lightweight fast shoe, you wouldn't have a giant growth off the end of the shoe. But the kicker is, the Clifton Edge costs $160. 30 more than the regular Clifton. And it doesn't hold a single advantage over the regular Clifton. Do you want heel cushioning? Well, the regular Clifton already has it. Why would you get the Edge? Do you want soft cushioning? Well, the Edge doesn't have that. Do you want to go faster? They weigh the same. Do you want to pay 30 extra dollars? Ah, we found our Edge customer.
Yeah, the Clifton Edge. It didn't quite make my list. I definitely thought there was some worse shoes, but it's definitely a kind of memorable mention there. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go with anything, and you want something out of Hoka, I mean, just swallow the pill and pay the 180 for the X, the cloud or the Carbon X. Um, yeah, the growth off that back. I mean, it might save a lot of people from heel striking, but if you're gonna get this shoe, you're definitely not a heel striker, or at least you shouldn't be. Um, Price tag is absurd, and honestly, you'd be better off with a Clifton, just a regular Clifton 7. You have that one a chance. The shoe isn't really going to help you that much for speed, or if you're trying to hit a specific time and you think that you need a light shoe. It's not gonna be the shoe for you. It's not gonna be the one that gets you that PR in that 5K or that marathon. Um, if anything, it's just taking more money out of your pocket and not putting it well to use.
Absolutely, just a ridiculous shoe.
Speaking of ridiculous shoes, coming in at my number 8 is the Cloud X. Sitting at 140, it's supposed to be, according to them, a cross training shoe, but you I I don't know what you would cross train in. Honestly, you'd probably be better swimming in a river with this shoe on and using it as a flotation device or a paddle. This shoe is mind-boggling. I mean, you're sitting so high up within the shoe and the stack height that you're not going to move side to side in it. The best thing that you're going to do is you're going to move forward and back. The pods on the bottom are angled sideways so that any sort of sideways motion, it's encouraging you to roll your ankle. It doesn't feel good on your foot. It's not absorbing any sort of shock. So if you're doing box jumps or this and that where it requires kind of high impact, the shoe's not going to save you. You're going to blow your knees out before you even blow a side in the shoe. It's it's a really bad shoe. Cloud X needs to just be gone. It needs to exit itself from existence. And even at number 8, it's it's a bad shoe. I mean I have obviously 7 more, but yeah, I got some strong things to say about these next 7. Just wait.
Indeed, I have the Cloud X later on in my list, so I'll keep my opinions for then. However, for my number 8, I have the Saucony Peregrine Ice Plus. This shoe is an absolute scam. So what they want you to do is pay $30 more than a Peregrine usually costs for the shoe to be, I don't know, well made for ice, but it's not that well made for ice anyway. So what do you get? You get a Gore-Tex upper. Okay, so you get to pay the Gore-Tex premium. Well, okay, so your shoe is waterproof, fine, but snow is still gonna get in from where it enters in the heel or through through the or under the tongue. Okay, so that was useful. Additionally, your foot's just gonna get more sweaty because Gore-Tex is about as breathable as sealskin. So, does it help you with traction on ice? No, because the lugs are aggressive. They're a bit wider, a bit flatter, but you don't have any more surface area to the ground to keep you from slipping in comparison to a regular shoe with a regular outsole. And you're paying $150 for this? No, don't. Just get the if you want the Peregrine, just get the Peregrine. It's $30 less. If you want something that gives you traction on ice, get ice cleats for over your shoes. It's a much smarter investment, and you'll pay a lot less money, and you'll actually get traction. Don't get the Peregrine Ice Plus. It's at $150. It is an absolute scam.
Yeah, I mean, buying just a regular Peregrine plus ice cleats, you're gonna save yourself money, and you're gonna have a shoe that works for the fall, for the spring, for the summer, a lot more useful than just something that's specifically made just for ice, maybe. I mean, ice cleats, yeah, it can go a long ways. I mean, whether you're running, walking, or I've even used mine for ice fishing every now and then. But yeah, just buy the Peregrine. It's going to be better off for you. It might not be your shoe, but compared to the Peregrine Ice, it's 10 times better. So for my number 7, I have a New Balance shoe. Not a lot actually came from New Balance for my end, but the New Balance More, sitting at a very more price of 165, which is more expensive than the first model of the More. Talking about the More 2 now at 165. Why? Just why? I mean, they're obviously going right after Hoka, and sure, it might feel a little bit nicer. People might like New Balance to be brand loyal to New Balance, but if you're gonna go right after Hoka, you gotta slash your price, or at least make it the same price. You can't be like, oh, we're in direct competition, but we're gonna charge you $15 more than honestly probably one of the best cushion shoes out there, which is the Hoka Bondi. I mean, if you're gonna need something that's wide, really cushiony, and is gonna have that rocker feel and limit the mobility and flexation of your foot, go with a Bondi. You're going to save yourself money, and you're not going to sit there $15 out just because you went with a More.
I see where you're coming from, but there's shoes that just feel so much worse and that I think are a much worse bargain than the More. Frankly, however, I don't think the More needs to exist because I don't feel that much more cushion in the More in comparison to the 1080, which is New Balance's regular, high cushion shoe. It's there. I don't pull it out often, but I think it can certainly be a good option if you're willing to spend the cash and you want something maybe a bit narrower than a Hoka Bondi. For my number 7, I have the On Cloud X. Just a shoe that doesn't make much sense to me. It's clearly designed for forward motion, but it's supposed to be a cross trainer, which you need to use for side to side motion. The ON's pod technology cushioning just does not work for this sort of concept because it's designed to go forward and back. That cushioning, that outsole, is designed for running, not for lifting, not for going side to side, jumping side to side. And so it'll end up probably not lasting as long as other specially made cross trainers. In addition to this, you're paying about $20 to $40 more for this On than for a regular cross trainer from another brand. And so I think that makes no sense, and so that's why this shoe is on this list. It makes no sense. Additionally, one thing I'd like to point out, and James alluded to this earlier, the sort of the side of the midsole kind of angles in. For a cross trainer, that makes no sense because that gives you so much less support because there's less contact with the ground from the shoe, and On already has that issue because the pods, there's space between the pods, so there's already a lot less contact with the ground, and so this shoe is just so poorly designed for cross training. On shoes in general, not designed for cross training. Don't pay $140 for this shoe. In fact, don't get this shoe at all.
Well, another shoe that we should kind of talk about from Ultra here is the Escalante at at, at 130 for what they did to it. Hard as rock, not worth it. I mean, even the Escalante Racer, it's nothing special either. Little bit lighter, but honestly, I'd rather go with the Escalante Racer than the Escalante right now. Ugh, I know you're gonna have it on your list too,
Yep.
so I'll let you really hammer into that one because you're kind of a fan of it earlier. But number six, the Escalante.
For my number six, I have a shoe that you feel pretty strongly about, and that's the Elevon 2. I'll let you talk in depth about that because it's probably coming up here soon. But they just what they did is they took the Elevon 1, of which I already wasn't a fan. It's supposed to be a fast shoe, but I thought it was way too heavy for being a fast shoe. And they made it heavier. They made the cushioning less responsive. They basically made every aspect of the Elevon 1 worse.
Yeah. Let's move on to number five. I have the Cumulus, the Asics Cumulus. Sitting at 120, so it's pretty reasonable in price. Nothing outrageous. But eh, Asics Cumulus hasn't really been doing it for me whatsoever. I mean, we've given a lot of kind of rip on the Asics, even though we've had a couple of them in our top 10, or at least I have. But the Cumulus, what is there to say about it?
Yeah, not much, other than that it's a terrible shoe. Uh, I'll I'll save my thoughts for it later. For number five, I have the Escalante 2.0. Absolutely terrible shoe. It's supposed to be ultras, lightweight, fast, workout shoe, but it's above 9 ounces. It's hard as a rock on the in the midsole and super uncomfortable, but the upper is incredibly rigid and it literally digs into your foot at multiple angles and from multiple sides. If you backlace this shoe for the ankle lock, the tongue will cut in to the front of your ankle. It, it could literally cause bleeding. That's ridiculous. From all sides, this shoe is just completely uncomfortable, very poorly designed for what it's supposed to do. And at 130, it costs way more than this type of shoe normally does, which is about $100 to $110. In addition to that, it's also completely obsolete because the Escalante Racer, although the midsole material is completely the same, the upper is a lot lighter, a lot more breathable, a lot softer, and it's not painful. So it's at the same price. So there's no reason to get the Escalante 2.0. Just get the Escalante Racer.
Yeah. We've kind of been flip-flopping on a lot of these, kind of within our top 10. Either we agree or don't agree, or we have it a little bit higher up on the list than the other. Coming in at my number four is my Elevon 2. And I say my Elevon because I really loved the first model of it. It was tried it on right away in the store, and it was a shoe that I loved. It felt nice on my foot. Just kind of had that nice snug feel around there. And it was a firmer shoe that I enjoyed. I enjoy kind of a firmer feel for my cushioning, and it felt really good in it. Trained for it for my marathon, and ran my marathon in it. And I was extremely excited about the Elevon 2 when I heard that they were going to make another one. I thought that this is going to be great. It's going to be lighter. It's going to be a little bit more cushion, but not over the top. And I thought that the upper was going to be a little bit lighter, a little bit more minimal. But oh gosh, was I wrong? Oh man, I saw it come out, read reviews, tried it on, and oh man, my heart ached. It was exactly like how you felt with the Superior 4.5. I was like, oh my gosh, what are they doing with this? It's so heavy. It's a brick now. If you're going to try anything, you have to go with the Rincon. I don't think it could be any worse, no matter how bad they make another one, than this current Elevon 2. I don't, I don't even think that they're coming out with an Elevon 3. I think that if they were to stop, it would be now. You know, they should have just continued on with the first gen and really narrowed that down, really focus on the weight of that. Um, but oh man, it's only at my number four because I had such a strong attachment to the first one that I was blown away and severely depressed when this Elevon 2 came out.
You know, the Elevon is in what Hoka calls its fly line, which means basically lightweight, fast shoe for race day. This is not that shoe. I literally bring it out for people who think the Bondi is too soft, and
Hmm.
it hasn't worked for that either, but it certainly doesn't work for its intended purpose. It's almost impossible to sell the Elevon because it's not lightweight, it's not comfortable. It doesn't really look that great either. In fact, it looks ridiculous, and it costs $160. So you might as well just shell out the extra 20 and get the Carbon X. It's a much better shoe.
Yeah, that price point for the 160, that really hurts too. I mean, if you're going from a Bondi to an Elvon, if you're not a fan of the Bondi at 150, you're not going to be a fan of the Elvon at 160.
No, definitely not. My number four is the Asics Gel Cumulus number two, or number 22. We're on version 22 now. And I wonder, seriously, how has the Cumulus survived this long? Seriously, it is literally a dynasty of crap. The midsole material feels way too rock hard. It I tried the shoe on. I got a free pair from Asics, and it it hurt my feet for 2 days. The upper, it's improved over the last version, which was an overbuilt mess. But the upper of this one, again, feels super awkward, too tight in certain areas, too wide in others, and it just doesn't fit my foot shape. I don't think it fits anyone's foot shape. This shoe is literally so bad. We carried no sizes in men's and only 3 in women's. And at 120, it's $10 less than the standard price for a mid-level cushion shoe, but it feels so much worse than the competition. It's an improvement over the Gel Cumulus 21, but the 22 is still very bad. It doesn't even look that great. It looks like it steals its visual components straight from the Brooks Ghost and the Saucony Ride, which I don't think look that great either. And all in all, it's just a shoe in which Asics put very little thought, very little effort, and it feels bad.
Yeah, I mean, being that mid-level, just saying that there's no thought into the shoe, I honestly think that's what Asics is doing. They're putting so much more time and effort into the Nimbus, maybe even into the 2000 and Kayano. But there is absolutely no thought. It's like, hey, we gotta make a high cushion shoe. Oh, wait. Oh, we gotta put something in between too. Well, here I have some scrap pieces from when we were putting together the other 3 shoes. Let's just throw it all together, and this is what we got. Um, they need to take a break, really dial in this shoe for hopefully the 23. And if they already have the 23 in the works, stop right now, scrap it all, take that person's two left feet out from the molding, and really dial in on what you're doing here because, like you said, it is a dynasty of absolute garbage and it needs a revamp. They need to destroy Rome while it's standing and rebuild.
Well, I certainly can't agree with this shoe. But now we get to the top three. These
Which
shoes,
our three might be the
I'm pretty
same.
sure they are. These three
It might
shoes
be.
are heinously bad. They are not only overpriced, uncomfortable, ugly, a lot of them are also completely obsolete. They are blood boilers. They make my blood boil because I don't understand how anyone can put their foot in these three shoes and say, oh yeah, that feels good. Because they all feel bad. It's. They all feel like running in bricks that you paid way too much for, and now you can't even build a house with the bricks. They're just that bad. They're terrible. They are terrible. They are anger inducing. They are that terrible. You want to start us off with number three?
I'm waiting for you. I'm gonna let your blood continue to boil, and I want you to name off our
Our
number
number
three.
three is the Mizuno Wave Inspire 16. I opened up the box in this shoe.
I think it's the 17.
The 17 came out this year. Don't worry, it'll probably end up on the list anyway.
I think it's still. I think it's on my list, but yeah, 16, 17. Yeah.
I opened up the box, and it was. I cannot describe the ugliness of this shoe. It was like looking at Medusa.
But the shoe turned to stone. Not the one that looked. The shoe turned itself into stone when someone looked at
The
it.
upper is so incredibly overbuilt. There's probably not a square millimeter of this shoe without a welded overlay. It's basically all just rubberized plastic.
It's thick with at least two Qs.
Additionally, they also came out with a knit version, which was supposed to be, a bit more flexible. Well, of course, it's Mizuno, so instead of, giving your foot room to breathe, the knit version was simply tighter.
It constricted your foot.
And then we get to the midsole. It this they could put this on the superior trail on the superior hiking trail, and it would not stand out in the least. It is a rock, and it comes out at $135. This shoe costs
Which is
$135.
which is the most reasonable of our top worst three
Yeah,
shoes.
so the shoe that pips its entire class by $5 is the most reasonable shoe. It is a scam. It makes your foot hurt so bad.
This shoe you could be walking on jello and your feet would still kill.
Absolutely.
You put the shoe on and it's clunky. It's heavy. It's firm. There, I can't say one good thing about this. Maybe the shade of blue
No,
that I tried
nope,
on, the
nope, nope, nope,
blue,
no,
maybe that
no.
was nice. If you closed your eyes and squinted and turned your head cockeyed, maybe it was nice. But honestly, if I was to give this shoe one credit, and it's not a strong credit, it's like a C minus when you need a pass with a D. C minus would be the price tag at 135.
It's still more than literally, well, almost every shoe in its class. Uh, I mean, there's only one word to describe this shoe, and I can't say it. So I am gonna say it's absolute crap. Don't buy it. Save yourself.
Even if you're a diehard Mizuno fan, don't do it. Just blow out your whatever Mizuno shoe you have now. Just run it into the ground, put shoe glue, put duct tape all around it, do whatever you can, and hope and pray that the Wave Inspire 18 will come out with a can't be much of a worse version than it is now.
We were discussing our list at work as there weren't any customers in the store, and a one of our coworkers who loves Mizuno was standing right next to us, and so I said, "I'm sorry, but we're gonna put the Mizuno Wave Inspire on our list," and she said, "Oh, yeah, that one's terrible." I mean, even people who die hard love Mizuno hate this shoe, but
Yeah, I don't even think that she wears anything but
no,
Mizuno. I mean, if she does, it's only because she's trying it on to see how it feels.
certainly. But I don't think the Wave Inspire really compares to our number two. The
I am wave inspired by that shoe.
To do what?
But
To do to do what? Hang your head in shame as you're sitting on the toilet?
well, I wonder whoever made our number two, which is the Cloud Stratus, sitting at a whopping 170. The price tag is exactly what a Stratus Cloud is. Just this big, wide, never-ending, depressing rain cloud.
That's what the shoe
And
looks
that's what
like.
this shoe is.
That's exactly what it looks
Yes,
like.
honestly.
Okay, so this shoe has literally everything I hate that I could possibly hate in a shoe. It costs way too much. This literally costs more than some carbon plate shoes. It has some form of quote unquote technology in it that doesn't really make a difference. It has a plastic heel cup, which is supposed to provide support against pronation. That's right, the Cloud Stratus is apparently a stability shoe. I hope you don't overpronate beyond your heel because the Cloud Stratus certainly won't help you there. It weighs too much. It comes in at 10.8 ounces, which is one of the heaviest quote unquote stability shoes. And then it doesn't even feel good. The fit is incredibly awkwardly wide, and it doesn't have the flexibility to accommodate different types of feet except ones that are wide throughout. The cushioning feels much too hard to support their weird pod midsole technology. They had to make the cushioning denser, which made it more rigid, which made it heavier and harder underfoot. And then it costs $170. There's nothing good about the shoe, and they have the audacity to make it cost $170?
Yeah, that heel cup is really honestly the only thing that's the stability portion of that shoe. But you got to think of it like this: if you are holding a tower, the and you're holding the tower at the very back end, okay, the very base of it on the south side of a tower, and it comes crumbling down. It just falls over like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. If I was to hold that from the side that it's leaning on by just my hand, because that's honestly the heel cup, that's the only thing that's holding it, that thing is still going to fall. It's still going to turn in. That heel cup is not going to save you in any sort of means. It is not a stability shoe. I wouldn't even classify it as a light guidance shoe. There is nothing built up on the instep. The pods, those aren't going to help you. There is nothing within that shoe that says this is a stability shoe and should be used for pronators.
No, absolutely yet it's still not the worst shoe.
Which is weird because I've sold way more of our number ones than I've ever sold of our number twos.
We've probably sold
And
more of our number one than number two and three combined.
yeah,
I mean, the Cloud Stratus is absolute crap. Don't buy it.
but it's nothing compared to our number one.
Our number one, the worst shoe,
It's a Brooks. It's a Brooks. Surprising.
is the Levitate 4. We'll begin with this one tricks pony, one trick. It's the DNA AMP cushioning, which is apparently getting lighter. Okay, so what is it? Oh, it's just Brooks's normal DNA loft with magical pixie dust sprinkled in and made shiny. What Brooks said is, this'll make it feel like a spring. You'll go faster because you'll get more energy return from the ground. Okay, great. So, you made the cushioning denser, which means it's heavier, which means it's more rigid, which means it's harder underfoot, so that people could go faster. Good job. Have you noticed that it weighs still over 10 ounces, which means it does not compare favorably against any other lightweight, speed-oriented shoe? Oh, you didn't notice that? Well, now you do. Okay, so the midsole is terrible. What about the upper? Well, it looks ugly. That's nice. Okay. In addition to that, it's super thin and super rigid, so it likes to poke and prod your foot, which makes it more painful.
It's like a cloth sock. Like, it's. I mean, the sock is already cloth, but it's how would you put it? Like almost like a denim
That's
sock.
actually pretty good. I was thinking more if you took your local firehouse and turned it into a sock. That's what you would get.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
and there's literally a version of the men's Levitate that looks like that. So if that's what you were going for, Brooks has got you covered.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I could see the Brooks foam and then an Asics gel, and then put in some glitter glue to make it shiny. That's the DNA AMP. That's what it is.
It and then does it come in at a reasonable price? No, of course not. Why'd you ask? It comes in at $150. The Brooks faithful will say, "Oh, it's a high cushion shoe." That's not how it's marketed, though. It's marketed to go for speed. You're supposed to go fast in our shiny, super fast shoe. Oh, really? Because I certainly don't want to go fast in this shoe. People who liked earlier versions of the Levitate literally hate this version. I spoke to a coworker who has had the Levitate 1, 2, 3, loved all three, hated the 4. It's it's so bad. But here's the kicker. The Levitate 4 is completely obsolete. The Hempo, another Brooks shoe, accomplishes everything that the Levitate was going for, does better in
Yeah.
every category, and equals the price. Why would you get the Levitate when you can get the Hempo? Just get the Hempo.
I think the only reason you would get the levitate is for your training. If you go for a long run in the levitate, which is going to be painful, it's going to be painful. But if you have a long run and then the next day a speed workout, put on any other shoe and you're going to feel faster. That's how they're going to market or should have marketed the levitate. Oh, run in this shoe and you'll feel faster the next day. Make sure the next day is in very fine print because you're not going to feel fast in the levitate. Oh God, no. Go outside on your local track and attach cinder blocks to your feet, run a lap, and then after running that lap, for almost 4 hours, take off the cinder blocks and run a lap barefoot, and I swear to God, it's going to feel so much better. You're going to feel so much faster, and it's marketed exactly how Brooks wanted it to.
Uh, it's it's so bad. It makes me laugh because it's just hilariously bad, and then I cry because it's so hilariously bad, and then I realize that life isn't fair, and the levitate exists. It is. It's heinous what Brooks has made. It's a scam. It's you aren't getting anything. Not anything at least that you couldn't get better in another shoe. I
It's tough too because if they're trying to say that it's this high cushion shoe, it's between that or the glycerin. And what's going to be one of your main selling points? The cushion. And you cannot argue, oh, the levitate has this magical springy power that's going to make you feel faster when all they can feel is the cushion.
yeah, it's
It's
ridiculous.
it's a tough one to sell, and it's not one that you should really think about. I mean, if you're really into firm shoes,
Just get an
and that's
Asics.
just get an Asics.
Uh, I'm quickly going to do a comparison here between the glycerin and the levitate. So the glycerin weighs 10.2 ounces, and remember that's Brooks's super high cushion shoe, and the let me see here, the levitate 4 comes in at 10.3 ounces.
There we go.
It it's indescribable, honestly. We've told you everything you could possibly want to know about this shoe, about the Levitate 4. I honestly hope the Levitate 5 is better, but I I think I think Brooks has found its answer with the Hempo. Uh, there's just not more to say unless James, you have something.
If anyone from Brooks is listening, get rid of your DNA AMP. It's not working. It's not a good selling point. I mean, maybe you could get away with it with a ricochet, a little bit of foam, a little bit of your DNA AMP, but it's not working. It just makes the shoe heavier, just like really any Asics with gel, just makes it heavier. Um, just stop, please, before you ruin more shoes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's our top 10. Leave in the comments what do you think. Are there certain Adidas or Nike shoes we could have added there? We unfortunately don't have any access, so if there's any heinously terrible ones, please tell us. We want to know. Uh,
Please send us some. I'm a size 12, 12 and a
I am
half.
a size 10 and a half. The the fact of the matter is, so far we have no clue what 2021 is going to look like. I imagine there's going to be another Levitate, and it's going to be just as bad. The
Well, if we just got that Wave Inspire 17, that's
it's
bad. So
worse.
2021's not looking it's not looking
It's
well.
worse, and we haven't gotten the Escalante 2.5. It has lost
Hmm.
about an ounce of weight, but I don't know if they've done anything to the upper, which was kind of the killer for me. These Leave in the comments what are your top 10 worst shoes? What's your worst shoe of 2020 if you got one? And remember,
Or if we even got our list completely wrong, let us know.
oh, absolutely, we are. I like to think I'm perfect, but a lot of people have different opinions on that. I
I have no comment.
just, you know what? Continue running, continue having fun. Don't buy these shoes. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Good luck, guys. Thanks.